So that was from Carulli's method, Opus 241. And I'm putting together a collection of nice, easy works as a supplement to my Volume 1 and Volume 2 method books. And so you can follow this lesson for free, but you can also download the free PDF sheet music for this piece, and there's a link for that in the description. There's no sign up or anything required, you just go download the piece. I would recommend that you work on this piece probably either at the very end of my Volume 1 book or after you've completed my Volume 1 method and during my Volume 2 method book. It sits right in the level of the Volume 2 book, having full chords that are arpeggiated, but no particular awkward parts or anything like that. But I think completing the Volume 1 method book first is a good idea. This piece is relatively straightforward and great practice for students playing arpeggios in triplets, as the title suggests. Like I said, not many complications to discuss. So what we'll do is we'll mainly discuss how to practice this arpeggio piece, and we'll talk a little bit about the phrasing and the dynamic shaping that we can do. So in terms of the arpeggio technique, we're just using the thumb and then I and M throughout the entire piece. And I often will recommend that students practice this in two different ways. One way would be to take all the notes within each triplet and play it as a block chord. So there's the first triplet. So instead of this, we'd play them all together. Really will help your hands solidify the block shapes so that your muscle memory just knows, instead of reading in each individual note, you're grouping notes together and you're thinking in larger forms. And even in terms of much larger forms, it's just the first measure, for example, is just a big C chord, right? The left hand is just a C chord, and the next chord is a G7 chord with the D in the bass. So you want to think of that in terms of the block chords, but then in terms of legato and smooth playing, the most practical way of really playing through it in a performance aspect is to get the next available note and then keep your fingers down. So you could start, and then you just get the next note, so by getting the next note that you have to get, you're making sure that you're connecting smoothly while holding on to notes. And of course, for any real beginners in this piece, this is an arpeggio piece. Within each measure, we want to be keeping our fingers down once we've played the notes, so that the notes all ring out. So that's kind of two different ways to think of practicing the piece. And we're at the beginner stage here, so I think we won't talk about planting in the right hand. I do have separate videos on that on the site, which you can check out, but I think at the beginner level, you don't need to think about that. In terms of shaping, lots of possibilities here. I chose to treat the piece as 4 measure phrases and to essentially crescendo to the 5 chord and then resolve to the 1 chord. So what I mean by that is I start off nice and soft. I let it grow. And then at the dominant chord here, we're nice and loud, and then we resolve it. So that tension and release is a common aspect of classical music, where you have that the 5 chord, which is a theory aspect terminology for the chords, but essentially you have this G chord resolving to C, and then start again, growing. Here's this 5 chord again, the G chord. This is actually a C with a G in the bass, which evolves into a G7 chord, and then resolve. Don't worry about all the terminology. At the beginner level, you don't need to know all the terminology. What you really just want to think about is that you have areas of relaxation, building of tension, and then release of that tension. So soft, growing, loud, relax, growing, tension, like a storytelling aspect. You know, when you're at home, it's nice and soft. You go away on this adventure, it's nice and loud. Then you return home and it's soft again. So relaxation, tension, relaxation.